In this video, we're going to talk about the properties of parallel lines. These are parallel lines. Parallel lines will never cross each other. You can tell these are parallel lines because they're marked with these arrows. A line that cuts through two or more parallel lines is called a transversal. Knowing these relationships allows us to find missing angles within the parallel lines. Let's go through some of the relationships that are formed and talk about the different kinds of angles. The first is corresponding angles. These are angles that are in matching corners. And they're congruent, meaning they're equal. These are going to be on the same side as the transversal. An example would be this angle and this angle. If I made a cut and cut that out, picked it up and set it on top of this parallel line, those two angles would land on top of each other. They would match or correspond. Here's another example. They're on the same side as the transversal, and they are matching. Another type of angle is a vertical angle. These are opposite of each other, and it's when two lines cross. They're going to share the same vertex. These are also going to be congruent, which means equal. So we're looking at when the transversal and one of the parallel lines cross. They're going to share a vertex, and they're congruent. Let's talk about a few more types of angles that are formed when we have parallel lines. The next one is alternate interior angles. The word alternate means opposite, so we're talking about angles on the opposite side of this transversal. An interior means inside, so the angles are inside the parallel lines. These angles are equal. An example would be this angle and this angle. Another set would be this angle and this angle. The next is alternate exterior angles. These ones are also going to be opposite sides of the transversal, but instead of being inside like the interior, these are outside the parallel lines. These are also going to be congruent or equal. An example would be this angle and this angle. They're outside the parallel lines and opposite sides of the transversal. Another example would be this angle and this angle. The last kind of angle we're going to talk about is a consecutive interior angle. Consecutive means in a row, and interior means inside. These are non-adjacent interior angles, and they lie on the same side of the transversal. When we have consecutive interior angles, their sum is 180 degrees. An example would be this angle and this angle. If I added those two angles together, they would equal 180 degrees. Pause the video and see if you can name each type of angle and then find the missing angle. Now let's see how you did. On this first one, the two angles are on opposite sides of the transversal, but they are inside the parallel lines. So we have alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles are congruent, so we know the missing angle is 111 degrees. Now let's look at the second one. They're on opposite sides of my transversal, but they're outside the parallel lines. So we have alternate exterior angles. Alternate exterior angles are congruent, so we know our missing angle is going to be 110 degrees. These last two angles are on the same side of the transversal, and if I pick this up and set it on top of the other one, they would match. So these are corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are equal, so x is going to equal 75 degrees. Sometimes we have to use algebra to find a missing angle. Let's first decide what kind of angles we have. If I pick this angle up and set it down on top of the other one, they would match, so we have corresponding angles. This means the two angles are congruent or equal. So to solve this, we can take 11x minus 2 and set it equal to 75. Now we can solve to find x. The first step is to add 2 to both sides. The negative 2 and plus 2 cancel, leaving us with 11x. And 75 plus 2 is 77. The last step is to divide out 11 from both sides. 77 divided by 11 is 7, so x equals 7. So using our angle relationships allowed us to find our variable.